Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest gaming news. And one big question that's been heavily debated on is whether or not games from Bethesda such as The Elder Scrolls 6 will be exclusive to Xbox now that Microsoft acquired ZeniMax. Well, we may have just gotten our answer from the ex-boss himself, Phil Spencer, so you're not going to want to miss that. Also, Nintendo's dominance continues with the Switch, and that thing is just insane by this point, so stick around for that as well. First though, let's go over some of the quick news, starting off with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. We did talk about Valhalla yesterday, as it's gotten a pretty major upgrade from when we first saw it. If you did miss yesterday's episode though, I will put on screen a comparison of what the original character models look like compared to the new ones, and it really is a night and day difference. It just goes to show you how much progress you can make in games in a short period of time, which bodes well for games like Halo Infinite. Maybe that game has made a lot of progress since we last saw it, but I will say this. When Valhalla was first revealed, some people were saying they just need to delay this game, or that it's being rushed for the launch of the next generation consoles. Well, good news, Valhalla has officially went gold, which means more than likely you're not going to see a delay. This will be a launch title for the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, and with that visual upgrade, this might be a nice pickup early on for those consoles. For that matter, anytime I see a game go gold this year, that's a big deal. As we all know, there has been a ton of delays this year, which is to be expected with the weird work conditions of many studios. And with that said, we actually have two different game delays to talk about. The big one is the next generation version of the Avengers, and this also includes the DLC character Kate Bishop. It was originally planned to launch in 2020, but it's now being pushed back to 2021, and honestly, I think that's a good thing. In a very lengthy post, Crystal Dynamics kind of explained why it was being delayed to 2021, and that's because they're going to give their team more time in order to deliver a next generation experience. I don't think that's the only reason though, because if you read their statement, they talk a lot about how they've been dealing with so many bugs and issues for this game. They did apologize for all this, and they said that they're listening to feedback in order to fix these problems, but I think that they're going to try to make the launch for the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 much better. In a way, they could be looking at that as a way of giving this game new life. A lot of players will try it on next generation consoles, and if they can fix its problems, then it could improve their community significantly. I mean, some of these online games can bring back players over time. Sea of Thieves, as an example, has grown tremendously after its bare-bones launch, so maybe Crystal Dynamics can still fix this game and grow it over time. Now also, Digimon Survive also unfortunately got delayed to 2021, and I have to say, I'm actually really looking forward to this game. I've always liked Digimon, and I think what they're trying to do with this game looks really interesting. The gameplay really reminds me of Disgaea with that tactical turn-based combat, and the animations with the visual novel art style looks really cool as well. The thing is, we really haven't seen anything on this game for a very long time. I was actually trying to find information on this game just a month or so ago, because I was starting to worry it was going to get cancelled. So honestly, I'm personally happy they made an announcement that it was getting delayed, because that means it at least didn't get cancelled. Still though, if you're looking forward to Digimon Survive, you're going to have to wait a bit longer. Hopefully it'll release in the first half of 2021, but really, I just want them to make a good game here. Now this next topic is kind of interesting. So the PlayStation 5 launches on November 12th, but however, if you ended up buying some PlayStation 5 accessories such as the DualSense controller, the camera, the wireless headset, or the media remote, well, those are releasing much sooner than the PlayStation 5 console. Actually, they're releasing on October 30th, which is kind of strange. I mean, you'll get the PlayStation 5 controller, but you're not going to get to play any games just yet. But even if it's strange, I actually like this. For one, I think it's going to be exciting for a lot of people just to have the DualSense controller in their hands. Even if they don't get to use it with a game, just having it would be nice. And hey, you may be able to plug it into your PC. Granted, you probably won't be able to use its features, because games do have to enable those. The other thing though, is that because they're being sent out so early, it also ensures you get all of these accessories day one. That means if you bought a second controller so you can play a game with two people in your family, you will be able to do that day one without the concern of those accessories being delayed. Either way, if you did order a PlayStation 5 accessory online, you might want to keep an eye out for those starting October 30th. And speaking of the PlayStation 5, yesterday when they revealed the PlayStation 5 user experience, it brought up a weird debate about resolution on the user interface. So Sony did announce that the user interface for the PlayStation 5 is 4K resolution, which is cool. I didn't really think much about it when they first announced it, which is why I didn't talk about it yesterday, but I guess the Xbox Series X will only display their user interface at 1080p resolution. So of course some gamers are kind of arguing over this and why one or the other is better. I mean, you know how these things work, but I'm just gonna be honest with you. I've never thought about the resolution of the user interface, and I imagine most people probably haven't either. Of course I care when it comes to games, but I just never put any thought into the resolution for the user interface. Nonetheless, this is a thing, and I'm curious as to how some of you all feel about this. Does the resolution for the user interface matter to you, and why, if so? I'm genuinely curious about this, so let me know in the comments below. Now, we do have a big Xbox topic to talk about today because Xbox Phil Spencer in an interview answered a big question about the Bethesda acquisition. So in an interview with Kotaku, he was asked if it was possible to recoup a $7.5 billion investment if you don't sell The Elder Scrolls 6 on the PlayStation 5, and he quickly answered, yes. And then he went on to say this, I don't want to be flip about that, this deal was not done to take games away from another player base like that. Nowhere in the documentation that we put together was, how do we keep other players from playing these games? We want more people to be able to play games, not fewer people to be able to play games. But I'll also say in the model, I'm just answering directly the question that you had. When I think about where people are going to be playing and the number of devices that we had, and we have xCloud, and PC, and Game Pass, and our console base, I don't have to go ship those games on any other platform other than the platforms that we support in order to kind of make the deal work for us, whatever that means. So there you have it. You can no longer say that they have to put these games on the PlayStation 5 in order to recoup this investment, and it really reads as if they will be Xbox and PC exclusives. He does start off by saying they don't want to take games away from other players, but then after that he points out that they have xCloud, PC, Xbox Game Pass, and their own console base, so they don't need other platforms. I've talked about this in some of my other videos, but that is a huge portion of gamers, because Xbox is simply everywhere. If you want to play on the Xbox consoles, you can absolutely do that, but you also have the option of playing on your phone and PC, whether that be on the Windows Store or even Steam. They're breaking down barriers in order to reach more players, and Xbox Game Pass is the center to all of this. They want to push Xbox Game Pass hard next generation, and what better way to do that than by offering exclusive content that you can get on Xbox Game Pass day one. Let me put this a different way. Microsoft doesn't simply care about just selling $60 to $70 games. They're looking at the bigger picture, and the more subscribers they have in Xbox Game Pass, the more money they'll make in the long term. So Xbox Game Pass is on PC, phones, and Xbox, but however, it's not on the PlayStation 5. So that misses their bottom line. They want those PlayStation gamers to come over to Xbox Game Pass or their ecosystem, and whether you do that by getting it on PC, your phone, or Xbox, they don't care. They just want you in their ecosystem. He even kind of says that in the same interview when asked about releasing more Nintendo Switch games like Ori. He considers releasing more Switch games as being unsustainable because you can't get the full Xbox ecosystem there, which of course is Xbox Live and Xbox Game Pass. Again, they want gamers to buy into Xbox Game Pass, and that's their main goal. Regardless though, it does sound like Phil Spencer is alluding to Bethesda games being exclusive to Xbox, which is absolutely huge. The Elder Scrolls and Fallout are massive franchises, and then you have games like Doom, Prey, Wolfenstein, and the list just goes on and on. This is a very big deal, but I do find it interesting that Microsoft won't flat out say no, but I think that's because they can't talk about it because the acquisition isn't quite complete just yet. Also, they did say in the past that some games will come to other platforms on a case-by-case basis. I assume that will be games like The Elder Scrolls Online, maybe some next-generation upgrades like Doom Eternal, and of course their previous contracts such as Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop. After those games release though, I think it looks more likely than not that they will be Xbox and PC exclusives going forward, and that seems to be what Phil Spencer is alluding to here. They do not need to release them on other platforms, and he's telling you exactly why. On to our last topic though, September NPD numbers got posted, and Nintendo's dominance continues once again. It was the best-selling platform in the United States, and that really just continues its record-breaking pace. What's interesting though is that gaming was up as a whole, but apparently it was Nintendo that offset the decline of other platforms that allowed for this overall increase in gaming. That's just how well the Nintendo Switch is doing right now, but NPD was intriguing for several different reasons. Nintendo did have 3 of the top 10 best-selling games for the month. Super Mario 3D All-Stars came in at second place, Animal Crossing New Horizons once again sold very well at the number 8 spot, and to round off the top 10 was Mario Kart 8. Yeah, that game just continues to sell crazy year in and year out. Let's look at some of these other games though, because surprisingly, the best-selling game in September was The Avengers. Now, I shouldn't be surprised by this too much because The Avengers is a huge IP, but we also know they've been struggling to find a user base. This is a games as a service type game, so that is very important, but clearly it sold well. Now they just need to fix up some of those issues, and maybe they can bring back some of that user base. It does make me question though, maybe they should have focused a little bit more on making this strictly a single player experience. Now there are 2 other games that really stands out here, Star Wars Squadrons and Crash 4. First off, these are October games, so I don't know how much data they really got on these games just yet, but Star Wars got that number 8 spot and Crash 4 is all the way back at the number 11 spot. Now we know Crash 4 didn't do too well over in the UK, so I was kind of hoping it would do much better in the United States. Being at the number 11 spot though is not particularly a great sign, but it might be an insufficient amount of data. Again, these are October games, and I don't know how many days they tracked of October, considering this was the September NPD. So we're gonna have to pay attention to next month's NPD as well. I will say this though, Crash 4 is truly excellent. I've been playing that game a lot, and I think it's one of the best platformers out right now. So I really hope it does well because I don't want Activision to stop supporting this franchise. A lot of people have been waiting years and years for Crash to return, and now that they finally brought him back, I hope it does well enough to not disappear once again. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.